I'm not now indulging in a piece of flattery. I really do believe that the Prado Museum is unique in Europe. It's a very, very, very special museum. I don't really want to describe exactly how it is so, because you all know better than I do, or as well as I do. It's peculiarly great range. It's the quantity and richness of the work of several or many important artists, the concentration of those works, and not only Spanish artists. It seems to me that the Prado is actually like a city. It's like a city whose streets go through time and go through the centuries and across the continent. And if then there's that vast picture, I'll add one little tiny detail, very personal, that it contains what I think for me, just personally for me, is maybe the most sacred oil painting that I know of in European art. And that's the Antonello de Messina of the Angel with the Dead Christ. Tiny, sublime. Okay, but let's come back to the notion that the Prado is like a city with its streets crossing centuries. And this award that you have given me is, thank you, is like giving me the freedom of that city. Thank you. Okay, now, lying down to sleep. In that city, of course, like in all cities, there's an airport and there's a railway station, but there's also a bus station, the most modest. And what Katya, my daughter, what we again want to do is to welcome you into a bus trip. And you know, where at the front it's announced where the bus is going. It just says lying down to sleep. And I don't think we know exactly where it's going. But come with us. Come with us. So, how to begin?
Let's talk about oblivion.
Oblivion? Is oblivion nothingness?
No. Nothingness is formless, and oblivion is circular.
What color? Blue?
Oblivion doesn't need paint. It sculpts. Oblivion leaves traces, like little white pebbles. Nothingness is before and after any pebbles or memory.
Nothingness wraps up life.
Oblivion is survival.
So is oblivion alone something lent by sleep to wakefulness?
No. Oblivion isn't alone from sleep. Sleep is creative, and oblivion grinds to the bone, penetrates, conserves, reduces to earth.
Maybe oblivion raises not choices, but causality. And we are often more mistaken about causes than about choices.
We are the precipitates of what our parents couldn't forget. We are what is left. The world and our words, like the ones we are saying now, are what is left from everything that has been dispersed. To forget is to travel to the essence which remains, the stone.
Okay. Maybe oblivion is a warrant for the future. Why? Because everyone is everyone, but without recognizing it. And so, not recognizing it, they are condemned until they are modest enough to grasp this fact as oblivion. Everyone is everyone.
Memory and oblivion are not opposites. Together they make a whole.
Are the clouds in the oculo oblivion?
Yes.
A painted room
Whose paintings
are addressed to somebody
who has just woken,
or somebody who is just about to go to sleep. So, this room is in the Ducal Palace, Mantua. The palace is a seat of power, even brutal. The room, by contrast, is intimate. It was conceived as a private room where the prince could receive visitors, and in which there is also a matrimonial bed. The paintings were commissioned by the Duke Ludovico Gonzaga and painted over a period of 11 years, 1460s and 1470s, by Andrea Mantegna.
when it was finished, it was said to be the most beautiful room in the world.
The bed was placed in the southwest corner of the room. So on the wall facing the foot of the bed is painted an outdoor scene with many figures in it. And it's entitled The Meeting, because it shows the Duke Ludovico meeting his son, Cardinal Francesco, and receiving a letter that his son has brought him.
On the wall facing the foot of the bed is an indoor scene of courtiers, in which the Duke holds the letter he has just received and read, and is showing it to his wife.
On the ceiling above the bed is a painted dome which opens onto a painted sky. It's called the oculus, which means the eye.
The whole room is painted. We are inside a painting. The two other walls are painted, covered with floral decorations. And so are the curtains that frame and separate those scenes, and the pillars and moldings on the wall. Everything is painted.
All is representation. And we know they are painted curtains. We know they are painted figures, painted sky, painted hills. Everything is surface.
We might pull the painted curtain and hide the painted landscape.
We might open the painted curtain and see the painted landscape next morning.
Mantegna signed the painted room
And left his self-portrait
among the painted scrolls
that decorate one corner of the room, little hidden over there. Here, everything is both presented by and hidden in painting.
And so nothing is as stark as the body next to you in bed.
And as W.H. Auden wrote 5 centuries later, lay your sleeping head, my love, human on my faithless arm. Time and fevers burn away individual beauty from thoughtful children, and the grave proves the child ephemeral. But in my arms, till break of day, let the living creature lie, mortal, guilty, but to me, the entirely beautiful. So, what is the strategy of this painted room? How does it want to surprise us?
Mantegna is famous for his innovations concerning foreshortening and perspective. Perhaps the most startling example is his Dead Christ.
Remember how we saw it together?
Yeah, we lay down, one after the other, on the floor of the Brera Museum in Milan before the Dead Christ, to discover the probable eye level of the painter, and thus the ideal eye level for the spectator. The one of us on the floor acted the body, and the other one the painter. We wondered whether in the Mantegna the head wasn't slightly too large and the feet a little too small.
And mission accomplished, we saw that there was no error in the proportions, and that the painter was looking down on everything, his eye level the same as that of the humble third mourner, a little above the two Marys on the left. And one could draw a triangle between Christ's head, his pierced feet. It's strange how in the English language there is this echo between soul, the sole of a shoe, and the soul. That there is a triangle between Christ's head, his pierced feet, and at the apex of the triangle, the viewer's eye, coinciding with that of the third mourner, on the same level. That's what we discovered in the Brera.
Is there some kind of equivalence between Mantegna's preoccupation, obsession with spatial perspective, particularly in relation to the human body, and a sense of time passing, a temporal perspective? The little angels in the Oculus painting with their... John, you must turn...
Their rippling tummies.
You must turn it back to the Oculus.
Yes. But we've seen it. It's there. It's very, very... And there's their little rippling tummies.
No, it's me. It's me.
Yeah, and
the little angels in the Oculus painting, with their rippling tummies touching their chins, with a tit tickling a lower lip.
You can see.
A pair of buttocks bursting out of a pair of shoulder blades, just beneath a head of curly hair. Do they, despite their frivolity, have something to do with a vision of history?
Yes. Because his fascination for, his intrigue with spatial perspective is inseparable from his insistence on a temporal perspective.
Look at the faces everywhere on these painted walls. Have you ever seen wrinkles, lines on faces better rendered? Have you ever seen painted wrinkles which are so alive, or rather, which have been so lived? I've never seen anywhere such a precise observation of the way time makes its mark on foreheads and eyelids, jowls and chins.
What time does to a face, in any of the many portraits he made, has rarely been delineated with such vehemence. Well, okay, with other painters it occurs, of course it occurs, but usually when the subject, the theme of the image is old age. But in Mantegna's painted faces, he makes us see the work of time, whatever the age of the sitter. And not surprisingly, among his contemporaries, there were, it seems, quite a few who were somewhat uneasy about being painted by him.
Now consider all the buildings in the landscape which we see through the arch of the fresco called The Meeting. They are there under the sky, one after another.
Yeah.
A tower in ruins, a tower being built with tiny workers on the scaffolding. Everywhere a remnant of the past and a plan for the future. Is this not as well a form of perspective? There is no other term for it. If Mantegna hadn't been a painter, he might have been an architect, or a historian, or a geriatrician, or a midwife.
Mantegna, perhaps more than any other Renaissance painter, was devoted to and obsessed by the notion of antiquity. But for us today, to understand what that means, we have to make an imaginative leap, leaving behind modernity with its promise of continual progress. Let's make that leap.